Hello, welcome to the Enthusiast podcast. Today, we're going to talk about something that is certainly a growing trend, and that would be the term Restomod or the category Restomod. Today, I have with me two of my favorite gentlemen, my boys, Justin and Jordan Hill. Thanks for being here, fellas.
Welcome. Great to be here.
Obviously, the younger folk have a totally different perspective on vehicles than I do at 50 years old. When I was growing up, the term hot rod was kind of the going thing where old cars from the 30s, 40s, whatever, were getting high horsepower engines and big fat tires and a complete, totally changed the character of the vehicle. Well, now today, Restomod is something that is this trending term or category, and it's taking old vehicles and restoring them, but with modern powertrain and modern technology. And the argument is, or the conversation I think should be, which is better, the old school, they're only original once, or old cool but new school as far as technology, as far as drivability and reliability. It's an interesting conversation. Justin, your knee jerk reaction. What's cooler?
Um, Something for everyone. I mean, they're both cool. It comes down to who you are and what you like. I've personally always leaned towards something untouched, bone stock, unmodified. That's always been my preference. Something exotic. But hey, if you can, take a 60s muscle car and pack a whole bunch of power into it and really refine the car and make it something that's usable um, daily. That's pretty cool too. So if you want to play with stuff, tinker with things, that's cool too. So I've got my bias one way, but again, something for everyone, and I get why guys do it.
Yeah, definitely. For me, it's a little more of a complicated question. I'm more a bit dependent on, whether or not it brings back the spirit of the old car with these modern day techniques that they're, putting with the engine and the transmission and all of that sort of thing. So I love old cars how they were, but there's a lot of new things that these brands are doing and just people on their own that is making these cars extremely special, but also capturing that same essence they had when they were first released.
So draw the line for me then. We have the ability to take an old Mustang and put a Coyote engine in it and a Tremec 5 or 6 speed gearbox that just a better diff, all this stuff that can handle the power. Update the interior a little bit, some new technology with air conditioning and of course stereo system, and everybody jacks up the stereo system. But where is the line that you don't cross? For me, if you put a screen in an old school Corvette or Mustang, the touchpad screen, you've gone too far. You've spoiled the character of the old car by putting an iPad or something inside the car.
Yeah,
Yeah,
completely.
I can see that. I mean, you've already most of these restomods and whatnot, you've already done so much. So for me, it's leave the body as is. These things are works of art, right from the get go. Um, you know,
So you're like creative license, just send it.
yeah, if that's what you're into, just go all out. Titanium and cast iron blocks and this and that. If money's no object, go absolutely wild. But leave that body. If it's a Mustang, an old Camaro, anything like that. I mean, they're beautiful cars to begin with. So
Well, see, and that there is the difference even from I believe it's Rick Dorr is his name, who customized those beautiful 50s big sedans and makes these custom one-off vehicles, but he's a craftsman one of one, where a resto mod, when you update, you can do like the Eleanor Mustang is a
right,
perfect example of a almost a mass-produced um, Restomod, even
Yeah,
though there's very
that's the
small
first thing that
numbers.
comes to mind when I think Restomod is that car.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, certainly no wrong answer. The difference is the driving experience. Do you like we've been working on a 65 Restomod Corvette. Just the build on it needed help.
Yeah.
So Kev and I have been working on it and sorting it out. And it is quite an interesting car to drive after we've gone through and corrected a lot of stuff. And it has the power of a new Corvette and a great, proper gearbox and the feel. And in the same week, I drove a 67 big block, as old school as it gets, the big block power, the side pipe, and both were amazing. On a long trip, the Restomod is it. On the highway, there's no
Totally.
doubt about it.
Yeah.
But around a nice kind of in the foothills area, the old school car, just with the little sloppier steering, and it felt more like an event.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was
The smell, the sound, the vibration,
exactly
everything, right?
Yeah. So the other trend we're talking about, like muscle cars and sports cars, but guys are slamming these big old caddies and yanking the 490s out and putting Corvette engines in them, and all of this stuff, and taking luxury cars and completely doing them over. Or your Toyota um, TJs and Land Cruisers and stuff, where they're putting big horsepower for these off-road vehicles, where guys are going off-road and using these
Yep.
vehicles. And it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool just to have those things on the road, or in this case on the trails. Like, again, you're preserving the essence of the car, the body and everything like that. But why not throw some money into the suspension and the engine, the differential, all that stuff? You're keeping the same body. It's going to be a cool looking ride. In a lot of cases, even better than factory. I think a lot of guys would argue that it's, the what you get from the factory versus what you can just create on your own dime is a lot cooler and a lot better. So it's cool to see that stuff still being almost repurposed and used in the modern day.
Yeah. Those are the guys that are always saying they don't make them like they used to, but then they want to keep up when they're merging onto the highway.
That's
sort of
right.
thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly it. And so the change is your 115 horsepower straight six in a Toyota to now 415, with a different gearbox and an adjustable differential and stuff in the same old school vehicle, but with way more, applicable technology for the use. And then, it's, of course, the prices are insane, because what guys are doing is taking the old school small Broncos and putting 300, 400, 500 horsepower in these tiny little vehicles and decking them all out and getting hundreds of thousands of dollars for these things that used to rot. They used to be in farmers' fields and, ranches and growing moss, and now they're absolutely worth a fortune. But the Restomod seems to be more valuable than the original in a case like the Bronco or even the Blazer. A low mile brand new 72 Blazer does not fetch the value of a completely redone gorgeous Restomod Blazer or Bronco.
No.
So it's an interesting value conversation as well with stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean money talks, right? And someone with a big wallet or whatever sees that, and they see the love and the attention that's been put into building something like that and the material used, that speaks volumes. So I think when someone sees that, then that is part of the reason why those things do so well versus a bone stock version. And again, a one of one vehicle versus, even though those are getting older and the numbers are fewer and fewer, you can find old Blazers or old Broncos and stuff still in stock form. So you make it one of one.
Yep. I can certainly see why too. I mean, it's all about craftsmanship and everything. They're doing a lot of things very, very special with these old cars that have turned modern, like, Eagle getting the back of their glass on the car. Eagle is a Restomod for Jaguar E-types, for those that don't know. Extremely special type of vehicles, and they have to get all their rear glass done at a shop, to be fitted onto the car. And so, you're not just paying for the car and what it does, but you're paying for the work that really gets put into it to make it a special vehicle. So yeah.
See, and that's an interesting example, is the Eagle E-types, because that almost goes to another level of Restomod, that they're like a coach builder.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
like so bespoke. They've taken the old essence of Jaguar and completely updated it. So, but before we go there, I wanted to ask your thoughts on, like, something, if I were to walk up at one of the major car events and see a bone stock 72 Blazer with, 3,000 miles on it, or a completely done over 72 Blazer with good horsepower, great suspension, killer custom interior, new paint scheme, both of these vehicles sitting there, I'm only choosing one. There is no question. I'm going Restomod in that category of vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's the same for a C2 split window Corvette,
Yeah.
I believe I'm still the old school, give me the pure original guy in that category. What about you guys?
That's right. If I can go ahead here, Jordy. The Blazer, I would also go the stock version too, because you're getting the stock version, but then you've got the ability to make it your own if you ever wanted to.
No kidding.
Right? So you're not taking what someone else has done. Not that you couldn't change things and whatever, but you've got the value and the everything that comes with having a bone stock, untouched, unmodified, low mile vehicle, and then the ability to work on it from there if that was something you ever chose to do. So I would lean bone stock in 99% of the cases for virtually anything.
Way more rare.
That's right.
Low mile bone stocker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd probably go with a Restomod Blazer, just because being in one of the old ones before, that old school stuff can be a little clunky to drive, and it is nice to have updated stuff when you're, especially in a higher up kind of car. It just feels better going down the road and stuff, or heading to the beach, or whatever you want to do in a type of car like that. But when it comes to something like you mentioned, a split window, it would have to be original. I don't know if I could ever get in a resto modded split window Corvette, because those are just so special.
Yeah.
And you want that authentic driving experience. If it was just a C2, and there's no split window in it, it's debatable what I'd rather kind of get in. It depends on how well done the resto mod is.
Exactly.
But when it comes to something as special as a split window, there's no type of mods to that car I'd really ever make.
Yeah, absolutely.
It almost seems like a never-ending topic. Like you're gonna talk to 100 different guys, and every guy is gonna give you a different
completely exactly
opinion on it, right?
And of course, the resto mod comes down to, was it done to your taste, or you did it to your taste? Some guys go over the top,
right?
As an example, we've been working with of course our friend Jay at the Carter Group, and he through a certain number of transaction and trades comes into the collection there, a 62 Volkswagen Transporter, all done up in old Coke livery. But so that's the Volkswagen pickup truck, right?
Yeah.
From the 60s, with a Corvette engine in the back on the custom frame
under the bed.
Now, it's absolutely absurd, this thing. Is that a resto mod? You're darn right that's a resto mod. For what purpose? Other than it's the holy shit car wherever you take it.
It's the car show showstopper.
It's the showstopper.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ultra cool, but this has to come down to taste. And then there's the situation where who did the build and what components, because guys can do it for cosmetics They can do it in their backyard and all sorts of shortcuts. But you put the term Restomod on it, and it seems to add a particular value. But the advice is you have to know who did it and what components
That's
were
the
used
biggest thing.
and get it checked out, because boy, oh boy, is it a whole new world of vulnerability based off of other people's decisions and craftsmanship and workmanship. It's a big deal. So you got to be careful if you're buying a
Of
Resto
course,
mod.
something as simple as a supercharger, you want to know where that work was done, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why companies, are now making brands out of doing resto mods.
That's
like,
right. If
like
it's someone
Eagle
reputable.
or like Singer,
Yeah.
for instance, too.
Yeah, that's it. And again, like Singer, now they're almost coming out and doing their own version of a 911.
Yeah.
But think back, so that's really nothing new. It's even tuners coming up with their own brands. Of course, AMG
Yep.
went and they upscaled all the Mercedes of the time, and then came. But think back to who was the primary tuner of Mustangs, who then went and created his own brand and then his own car, Steve Saline.
Mm-hmm.
So he was not restomodding cars, but there are now versions of Saline Mustangs that are very, very sought after and have and some of them are considered almost vintage now because he's been at it for so long. And then he came up with the S7, and pretty epic car. But this comes down into these guys being coach builders, going one beyond tuning cars. They're actually creating them and becoming their own manufacturer. It's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
So if you were going to build a car for 50 grand, so you could start off with a model of car, but you got to swap it however you wanted, but $50,000 budget, what would you build?
That's a good question. You're gonna have to give me a sec to think here on that one.
I feel like I would do something totally surprising, like almost like a 914 Porsche with a real serious chassis and engine upgrade, something, vintage, cool, original, cool car when it was new, but really increase it. Even do something like a Beetle, just really make it crazy and super cool. That, in that budget, that's probably the type of vehicles that you're looking at.
Yeah, I'd like to buy maybe a car that hasn't been very well taken care of, and I'm referring to, a Lamborghini Yalpa. You'll find a lot that aren't in great condition out there, even though they are pretty tremendous looking cars, and fully upgraded. We got the baby brother for the Aventador, the Huracan, the baby brother for the Murcielago, the Gallardo.
Yeah.
It would be nice to kind of see the Yelpa get a little more appreciation and turn into a Restomod where it can handle really nice and up to date, has great power and everything, and also just looks.
But what engine do you put in that car?
That's the issue. Earlier we were discussing, the Urus V8, because obviously that car is a V8, but would it even fit is another issue. So what kind of V8 do you put in that car, and do you even?
Because there are crapper Yelpas out there. They're 410 made.
Yeah.
There are like dilapidated that it's probably not worth saving the engine, so you put something else in there. It's blasphemy to a lot of people probably, but if you're doing that, you got to put some. Well, I don't know. Do you put Audi 4 point or what is it?
Well, there's the
R8
V8.
Yeah, the 4.2 V8 from the R8.
Yeah.
In the back, there's family.
Well, that's
Lambo,
along the
Audi.
lines I was thinking. I was thinking like a 944 with one of those in there or something like that.
Yeah.
Or if you could squeeze the V10 in there, then that's even better. But
so totally different topic then. With the let me go back. Kevin and I had the opportunity to take a mallet for a spin. And if you guys are familiar with that car, that's your Pontiac Solstice, and they had a version that had about 240 horsepower. But then the company, I believe it's Mallet Industries, created 100 of these cars with Corvette engines in them. So
Wow.
here's this short wheelbase little snot rocket with 400 horsepower. Sounds incredible. Super fun car. Now, is that same horsepower as a Corvette, essentially?
Yeah.
But for they're about $45,000. Do you get a really nice C6 Corvette, or do you get something that's one of 100 that is just ultra cool?
I mean, it's a cool car, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's a Solstice, so
Okay,
that's my answer.
it's super fast, but it's
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 a
still a
Solstice.
Solstice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the badge means a lot, and
That's like getting a sick Boxster or a Cayman or a entry level 911. It's still a superior car in most
okay.
ways.
For me, from an experience standpoint, I would do the Mallet because of the one of 100.
Yeah.
And if I need to, I would find a Corvette in the first parking lot I went to.
Well, that's right.
And so just the rarity and collectability, just to have a rare experience would be kind of fun. So very cool. So we did some video of the Restomod Corvette that we've been working on. So we'll show that here now. Okay, so we talked about an example like the Mallet, which just a neat experience, cool car, but of course the motor is kept in the GM family. But through many years and growing up, there was a lot of, you see 30 Fords and whatever, and they've got Chevy engines, and there's Chevy, hot rods and special sedans, and they've got Ford flathead, V8s in them.
Yeah.
And so there's this swapping of parts, and it's almost, I'm not sure how to feel about, us putting a different motor in a vehicle of an opposite brand or whatever, but it's actually a fairly common thing, and manufacturers do it new.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the question: does it diminish the collectability or bespokeness of a special car, if it uses the powertrain of a different manufacturer?
oh, I don't know. Is that just Restomods or just cars?
No,
in
that's
general?
cars in general.
Well, it really depends on the manufacturer because Pagani uses an AMG engine,
That's right.
and that car is a work of art, in my opinion.
And that's one of
I
the
think they
best.
did everything right. So
Is there a better example? Perhaps only one. And I bet you know it.
I guarantee I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when McLaren stole the BMW engine for the F1.
Correct.
well, there you go.
Absolutely.
There you go.
So here you have these incredible.
But that was a one-off, right? Like I believe it's the M60 engine or whatever is what's used in the Pagani
This
Yeah.
original, what was it? This
in the Zonda.
had this 7-liter.
Yeah, I think that's called the
V12.
M60.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Sounds about right.
I mean, killer.
That's a
Killer
good example. I
example.
think you just
Yeah.
But like Lotus using what is essentially a Toyota Matrix.
Pontiac
Engine.
vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, or Pontiac Vibe. Now, the funny thing is I've owned a Pontiac Vibe,
Yeah.
and I love that.
I've had a Toyota Matrix.
Right. Just killer engine, great gearbox.
Yeah.
So you take it in a car and put it in something
Yeah.
half the weight
Exactly.
and tune it properly.
Yeah.
And does it diminish the mystique of the Lotus? In my mind, absolutely not,
No.
because all you have to do is get in the car and see why all the engineers and everybody that wanted to create a cool driving experience for you chose that powertrain.
That's
Now,
right.
all you have to do is get in and drive a car like that.
Yep.
Yeah. If no one told you that the Lotus had the same engine as a Pontiac Vibe, you wouldn't care when you got in the car.
No.
So it doesn't really matter. The 2005 Ford GT has the same engine as the Ford truck, actually.
A lot of the block
The
and
five
stuff would be
5.4
similar.
Triton, right?
Yeah,
A lot of
I
it
think
would
that's
be
the one.
Well, the
Yeah.
Viper had. There's your perfect example. The
Yeah.
RT10 had basically the truck V10
Yeah.
block, anyways, as I understand it, and
That's
then
right.
added all different heads and everything.
Yeah.
Of course.
So whatever.
Well, I mean, the Corvettes is a 6.2. You look at your
Exactly.
top of the line Denali now, it's a 6.2 liter V8. Now they're tuned
Yeah.
very differently and they've got different engine codes. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, they're very, very similar.
No kidding.
So what would be, you go back to the earliest, most significant car that ever put is, somebody else's powertrain in, and the most significant one that comes to my mind would be the AC Cobra, because of course they
Mhm.
use the
There you go.
AC bodies, and of course, and then widen them and whatnot. But with those Ford small and big block engines,
Yeah,
wow,
of course.
yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a history of the kind of amalgamation between all these different brands and ideas, and it works.
And it's more commonplace now, too. I mean, look at F1. They've been doing it for years.
Yes,
You
exactly.
know, how many championship engines has Ford built and Cosworth and,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know, the
Honda
list goes on and on. Yeah,
yeah.
that's right. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I believe there's only 4 manufacturers in F1 now, maybe 5 engine manufacturers, but there's 10 teams.
There's Mercedes, Ferrari.
Renault, Alpine makes their own.
Yeah.
Does anyways?
Who does
yeah.
Red Bull?
Honda.
Honda, but
does the
they're
AlphaTauri as well.
they're also Red Bull powertrain now. I think they're transitioning until they go to Ford in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit of Honda support.
So come all the way full circle back to Restomods.
Yeah.
So they're getting extraordinary values. Now, I believe it's because there's a whole new batch of enthusiasts and new money that's coming in, because in a lot of cases, the old Camaros and the old Corvettes were dad's car.
Yeah.
And I love those cars, but I want something that's more youthful. And your 427, 350, 400 horse back then is not the 400 horse I can put on the pavement today.
No.
Totally different experience. And in fact, for a little bit more money, I can go to 600 horse with a 6-speed. So I'm going to do that. So it's like there's a new category of enthusiasts and a new buyer with these vehicles, which I think is driving the prices up. Where normally those guys may be buying a McLaren or Ferrari or Lambo or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting money into updating these Broncos and the Corvettes, and it's driving the prices up. But then it gets absurd where you've got these crazy values. And the example I use is Kevin Hart and his $750,000 '59 Corvette.
Yeah.
What?
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's a beautiful car.
Just
I mean,
it's a work of
Good
art.
choice.
That's right.
But
And what's a 59 Corvette normally? 150, 200 grand car?
yeah,
Mhm.
for meticulous,
Yeah.
top flight award. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's extraordinary to see that the enthusiasm is still there, but it's evolving and it's changing.
Yeah.
For me, like I say, there is a line and a category that I would do or not do, but I get it. It's a very, very cool thing. And that Corvette, that 65 Corvette, was a really fun experience to drive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna build off from that. Like, what's the maximum amount of money you would spend on a Porsche 964?
Oof.
That's a good point.
Yeah, like I mean, what are they? Like a 964, like a turbo, or just a 964
Turbo.
So yeah, they're a couple Hun is safe.
That's what I was thinking.
US for
couple Hun.
a 3.3. I think they're in that kind of
Yeah.
price range.
Absolutely. And then if you were told that car is has a carbon fiber body, looks the
Yeah.
same,
Yeah.
And what's Singer doing?
and
1.2 on those?
and 460 horsepower.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like a baseball glove stitching interior and the way they do all of the fixtures
like,
and stuff.
As soon as you open up that door, you know you've
Yeah.
made a great investment with your money. Those are probably some of the prettiest interiors I've ever seen on
Yeah.
any car.
Yeah. Yeah, they do a lot of pretty amazing stuff. And
Yeah.
of course their wait list is years,
Oh,
as I
yeah.
understand it, and rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
I mean, they are hand built,
Everything hand built. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very.
What's the other brand too? Oh, Gunther Works, I think.
Yeah.
For Porsche.
For Porsche.
Yeah, yeah.
Just on that note, shout out Gunther Works.
I getting guys that are just taking stuff and just making them.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, I tell you, there's something about being in an old car where you can get out on a straightaway fast, but then you come up on a corner and the brakes actually work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. The usability is
Yeah.
is much better.
It's a
So
big
it's
deal.
cool to see the money is still in the purists, keeping the values of original cars significant and high. But it's nice to see them getting a new life with, you know, modern upgrades, and it's a whole new world. Kind of cool to witness.
Hell yeah.
Mhm.